Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Pretty crazy that something with that insane of a premise has lasted 40 years. But for real, this story about some little turtles who just happen to get turned into crime-fighting ninjas because of some green ooze has transcended generations ever since it was first released as a comic book in 1984. You know who we're talking about? We're talking Michelangelo, Leonardo, Donatello, and Raphael, all led by their sensei, Master Splinter, to fight off the colorful cast of villains plaguing their city. Particularly the evil Shredder and the Foot Clan. God, this stuff is so nostalgic to me. I mean, since the original 80s comic, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles has been adapted into, I want to say 5 cartoons, 7 movies, millions of toys, and of course, a huge number of video games. I mean, Wikipedia's article on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle video games lists like 48 games released between 1989 and today. The most timeless and beloved of which are just some classic arcade beat-em-up action. And dude, growing up, I loved the Ninja Turtles. I was obsessed with the 2003 cartoon and the 90s movies, had a ton of toys that I have kept precious in my collection decades later. And honestly, I can't believe I've yet to make a video about the Ninja Turtles now that it's literally my job to talk about cartoons, video games, and nostalgia. But no more! Today, we're gonna be diving right into the ooze. Because we're going to be playing one of the newest games based on our turtle boys, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate, who also are conveniently sponsoring today's video. Thank you, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate. That's right, from the developers Super Evil Megacorp. Yes, really. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate carries on the grand tradition of Ninja Turtles video games, with a bit of a twist. It's another classic arcade-style beat-em-up, but now with roguelike elements. Meaning every time you play, it's gonna be a little bit different with some randomized rooms and power-ups and stuff like that. Now, this game isn't like brand new or anything. It's actually been kicking since May of last year when it released on Apple Arcade. It then made the jump to Nintendo Switch this summer, and now Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate is making its grand debut on PC through Steam and the Epic Games Store. And of course, the jump to PC means the game's been totally optimized and updated for like 4K resolution, 60 FPS frame rate, all that stuff. Meaning your turtle journey will now be smoother than ever. And most exciting for me, Splintered Fate is already totally verified for the Steam Deck. I love my Steam Deck. PC gaming has always been fascinating to me, but I've always been more comfortable playing like handheld games. That thing's been a total game changer, so of course I had to play Splintered Fate on my Steam Deck. But you know, if you'd prefer to play it on your desktop or laptop, it's all good. All you gotta do is head to the very top link in this video's description to check out Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate for yourself. So, thanks again to Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate for sponsoring today's video, and now, dude, I can't wait anymore. Let's get into the game. So, booting this game up, and we assume the role of Leonardo, the leader of the Ninja Turtles, doing some classic Leonardo stuff. That is to say, standing on a rooftop at night, sulking about leadership. Training and leadership. Teamwork. When suddenly, we're ambushed. The Foot Clan suddenly swarm around Leonardo, and we get our first taste of the gameplay. As I said before, this is a good old classic arcade-style beat-em-up game with an isometric bird's-eye perspective. It means you're looking at it from up in the sky. You have a basic attack that can stack up combos, a special attack that hits a bit harder, a tool attack that brings in some extra effects like maybe elemental damage, and most importantly, in my opinion, a dash move that lets you zip around all quick and dodge enemies. That's our standard setup here. But as Leo gets overwhelmed by the foot soldiers, Shredder himself drops in and starts tossing around some vague yet ominous threats about Leo and his family being doomed. Fun! When, out of nowhere, this weird portal thing opens up and sends Leo all the way back to the turtle's underground lair in the sewers. And Leo's like, guys, Shredder, big portal, roguelike elements, gah! But unfortunately, that's not where the problems end. Splinter is missing. That never happens. And weirdly enough, he also got zapped away by a mysterious portal thing. Just then, Splinter appears as a freaky purple ghost thing and says he's trapped, but he don't know where. However, he did manage to contact us from across the astral plane, so that's convenient. We got some silver linings. So we don't know where he is. He don't know where he is. Let's go! It is up to Leo, Mikey, Donnie, and Raph to find and save Master Splinter, figure out what's going on with these weird portal things, and stop whatever Shredder has planned. And it's up to me to choose my character. Now, you can play as any of the 4 turtles, and they've got their own special abilities and weapons and stuff like that. Or, you know, you can hop into multiplayer online or through couch co-op and get a big team running of all 4. I am alone, I pick Raphael, he's my favorite. And so the adventure begins. We head off into the sewer and start beating up like rats and robots and foot soldiers, stuff like that. And now we're really seeing those roguelike elements popping up. The main gameplay loop here is that you run from room to room, fight the enemies that show up until they stop showing up, to then be rewarded with your choice of an extra power-up or some in-game currency. You pick whichever one you want, and then you go to the next room where there's more enemies to fight and another reward to get, etc, etc. And of course, every few screens there will be some kind of like boss fight to tackle. And you do this for 4 chapters that take place across iconic TMNT locales, which, might not sound like a lot, but you only get one chance. If you die even once, you get warped back to the lair and gotta start all the way from the beginning of chapter 1. And every time you start back up, the game will be a little bit different. You'll be fighting a different loadout of enemies. One of the rooms might be a little different. The mini-boss you fight might change completely. And of course, all the power-ups and rewards you earn will be different. And you gotta survive the enemy onslaughts and choose your power-ups wisely to give yourself the best chance at getting to the end. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the world's most experienced roguelike gamer, so a lot of this was new to me. It took me a few tries to wrap my head around everything here, but when it clicked, I got hooked. Every time that I died and got sent back to the lair, I had the opportunity to explore and unlock new permanent power-ups. The ones that you get while you're on your runs only last that run. As soon as you die, you lose those power-ups. But any upgrades you get in the lair power you up permanently. You get these dragon coins on every run that you can use to upgrade things like your health and your strength. You get these dreamer coins that increase your luck when it comes to earning things like in-game currency or chances of getting certain power-up options. And the more I played, died, and spent my upgrades, the stronger and more capable I got when I started my next run. In chapter 1 here, I had to run through the sewers and fight the giant alligator villain Leatherhead. Then I had to jump to the docks above ground and make my way to this big foot soldier cargo ship where I faced off against Shredder's granddaughter and second-in-command Karai. And this fight took a decent number of runs to get past. I was chipping away at this one for a while. Starting in the sewers, fighting Leatherhead, and then getting all the way to Karai took some serious planning and strategizing from run to run. Eventually, I did beat the boss, and it felt great. But as I continued playing into chapter 3 and chapter 4, anytime that I was in chapter 1 and 2, I found that I could just breeze through this stuff now. I could really feel my character getting stronger every time I played. That feeling of getting a little bit better and a little bit stronger with every run was extremely satisfying, and it just started stacking up and up and up. The next day, after I played the game for the first time, I was genuinely excited about starting a few more runs to see how far I could get. I'm not kidding here, it was one of the first thoughts I had when I woke up that day. And of course, along the way, you get to meet so many classic TMNT characters. Yeah, I already mentioned Leatherhead and Karai, but in chapter 3, you get to face off against 2 of the most classic Ninja Turtle villains of all time, Bebop and Rocksteady. Another pair of animal mutant hybrid things that have been working for Shredder for ages. And this fight was a doozy, dude. Rocksteady had this big laser cannon, and Bebop was just swinging this giant flaming chainsaw around. It was chaotic. And you gotta fight both of them at the exact same time. Remember when I said that dash move was the most important one? Yeah, it's for fights like this. And throughout all these fights and all these runs, the turtles are trying to gain literally any insight they can as to what on earth is actually going on here. Where did the portals come from? What does this all mean? What is Shredder planning? And they meet allies in each level who are just as confused as they are. Apparently, some strange voice keeps getting into the heads of all the turtles' friends, urging them to give the turtles these strange artifacts. In the game, these just function as buffs for each run, but in the story, these are pillars of intrigue. Casey Jones gave me a thing. This means something. And as the turtles fight their way from the sewers to the docks, through the New York streets, and then back to the rooftops where all this started, we gotta get better at the game. Okay, give me a second here. Okay, we got up to Shredder, and this fight is brutal, dude. There's no extra enemies, there's no other big stage hazards, you just fight the one guy, you against Shredder and his relentless attacks. And yeah, he wiped the floor with me a few times. Right when I got him down to about a quarter health, he pulled some cosmic nonsense and completely healed himself. Jerk. I don't like this guy very much. But with proper strategizing when it came to what power-ups I picked, what attributes I upgraded, and when I got my health buffs, I was able to just barely get by. Look at that! Delivered the final blow when my health was basically gone. If I had gotten hit one more time, it would have been run over and right back to the sewers. I just made it. But if you thought that was that and we'd all live happily ever after, you're wrong. And you should reevaluate your thought process. Shredder just vanishes, and yet another ghostly apparition of Splinter appears. He's not back yet. He's still trapped in some other universe or dimension or whatever it is. And for the first time in this game, we hear this mysterious voice of the person who's really behind all this. And no one's quite sure who they are, but it's clear that they're toying with the turtles. Talking about all this like it's some kind of game with roguelike elements. And he says the only way to truly save Splinter is to go on a winning streak, but that it's only gonna get harder from here. I wonder what he could be talking about. So clearly, this is far from the end of the game. That's just one run. The point of Splintered Fate is to go through these 4 chapters multiple times, getting stronger and faster with each run. In the lair, you can even see your stats, including the number of runs you've started, the number of runs you've completed, and your current streak of completed runs. So while I may have just completed my first and only successful run, the game goes so much further from here. So if anything you've seen in today's video seems cool to you, and you want to pick up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Splintered Fate for yourself, remember, all you gotta do is click the very top link in this video's description. And thank you again to Splintered Fate for sponsoring today's video. And now, I should get back to work. Get back to work, yeah. Work.